Recording in progress.
Okay, I am so excited to have you all here at the Soulforce book launch, the virtual book launch party. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to have you all here and how excited I am that this book is finally in physical form out here in the world, the real world. Here, I'm just going to turn off my VPN because that can sometimes slow things down. Hopefully, all right, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, so before I start talking and giving my presentation, I'm gonna play my violin. We'll set the mood a little bit. I'll do a little improvisation. Tell me if you can hear my violin clearly. Can you hear that? More or less. Okay. All right. Okay, so I have a few things in mind for this evening. We'll go for about an hour. And afterwards, if you're interested, if you're available, you can stay on the call. We'll have a little after party. So before then, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the book, the story, the mission of the book. I'll do a reading from the book. You'll also hear from some of my current and former students, some of their stories, and there's then going to be prizes um, for anybody here who's interested, including free copies of the book and sessions with me, and ponies. Just kidding, no ponies. um, so here we go. I'm gonna get into it. My book is entitled Soulforce: How to Discover Your Artistic Purpose, Create More Freely, and Make Art That Matters. Um, I, gosh, what's the story of this book? It's like my whole life, you know? Um, I grew up playing violin and had many adventures with that, including injuries in college, where I could barely play any violin anymore because I was so tight in my body, so tight in my arms. And that led to finding the Alexander technique, which showed me how to move freely, play freely, and to feel more comfortable in my body while playing and let go of all that tension. And that's when my soul force started coming through. And that was such an eye-opening experience for me. This whole other level of creative flow and connection that seemed to come from nowhere. And I saw this so many times in my Alexander Technique school that I went to become a teacher. There were times when the other students would be playing, and there'd be this kind of before and after that would happen, where before the teacher would work with them, they would be playing their instrument, and it would sound very nice. But then my Alexander Technique teacher would work with them and use their hands to help free their body of tension, moving into a state of ease and poise. And then all of a sudden their music would become luminous, haunting, effortless. Again, that's that soul force. I didn't have a word for it back then, but it really caught my attention. And then a couple years ago, it was the beginning of the pandemic. I was listening to this podcast episode with Jamie Wheel, who's a flow expert and thought leader on existential risk. And he was asked by the podcast hosts, so with the pandemic and climate change and political strife and all kinds of things like this, what chance does humanity have of surviving the next couple decades? And he said, to me, it's either Soulforce or bust. And that really caught my attention. I had no idea what Soulforce was, but in that moment, I could feel it. Like, oh yeah, that's what I want. Maybe that's what I've been experiencing in all these lessons that I've took in Alexander Technique and all the lessons that I've taught since then. And then in that moment, I thought, wow, what if I could have a Soulforce Arts Institute where I could teach that quality? I could teach people how to get in touch with that again, because so often it gets squashed just by living in this society, often by our artistic training, unfortunately. And often if you're like a professional artist, it gets squashed by the act of trying to make a living as an artist. But nonetheless, Soulforce is this thing that we all want. It's what brings art alive. It's what every artist wants to experience in the creative act, and what every audience member, not just for music, for visual arts as well, and all the rest of them. It's what we all want to experience. And so I thought, well, what if we could put this back in the center of arts thinking, arts pedagogy? And so that really got me thinking, and started developing the Soulforce Arts idea. But then 2 years later, I was visiting my friend Judy up here. You can see her around in the meeting up in Maine. And that summer, gorgeous summer, I love being up in Maine. And this is a story I begin the book with. That's when I heard the International Panel for Climate Change report saying that, code red for humanity. And in that moment, I thought, wow, the rehearsal's over. What's mine to do? As an artist, what can I do? I'm a violinist. I'm an Alexander Technique teacher. It's not like I have, tons of followers or political power or influence or, bags of money to spend on whatever, Instagram followers. I didn't have any of that stuff. What can I do? Is there anything for me to do? Other than just sort of naively hope that my music will make a difference. And I knew that I'm not the only one kind of facing that existential angst, that question. So many artists, we have this secret fear that our art doesn't really matter in today's world. We get this message from our society over and over. The arts are the first things to be cut from schools. Artists are never invited to the big kids' table when important decisions are made. We get the message that the arts are nice, or maybe self-indulgent hobbies, luxury items, entertainment. But that contradicts what I know in my heart and what I know so many other artists and creatives know in their hearts, which is that the arts have a very profound, powerful role and purpose in this world. And yet so many of us struggle because we can't put words to that purpose. We don't have a framework for really understanding it. And so it's hard to exist in a society where there's so many messages that contradict what our hearts know to be true. And so all of this came together for me back in 2001, that summer. Hearing about Soulforce, and then hearing the IPCC climate report, and then wondering, what can I do? I'm just an artist. And so then Judy said, "You should write a book." And then I did. And it took only 3 years. um, and I couldn't be more proud. I'm so happy with the way it came out. And so basically, what is the book? It's trying to answer this question: what's ours to do as artists, as creatives in these turbulent times? Is there really something tangible, meaningful for us to do? How is that connected to our well being? How is that connected to the creative act? How we make a living, how we teach, how we perform, how we practice. And so my idea is that all these things are connected. Whole life, whole art. My tagline for my website is Soulforce Arts, the place where your art, well-being, and the world's hunger meet. I took this from Frederick Buechner, who said you can find God or purpose, you could say life purpose, at the place where your deep gladness and the world's hunger meet. And I think that's really right. I think that's right on. And the whole idea behind Soulforce Arts is that the world actually does need our soul force. That's what the world needs from us. And guess what? It's also what you love to do. What the thing that makes creating so joyful and juicy and fun. And so it's this gigantic win-win. And plus, you're going to feel better. Like your body's going to feel better, your emotions, your mind. So that it's this really amazing thing that can happen. And so that's what my book is about: how to cultivate that, how to get back in touch with your soul force, and let it find its rightful place at the center of your creative life. It's a very practical book. Tons of stories and examples and practices, and there's quite a lot of the Alexander technique in there. In between each of the chapters, I've included what I call mind-body interludes, which are lessons in the Alexander technique and also for meditation that help you heal the split between like mind and body, help you integrate mind, body, and heart into the creative act so that you can create more effortlessly and thereby let your soul force flow and thereby make art that matters to a world in need. So that's a basic overview of the book. Now I'd like to do a reading of the conclusion of the book. And I share this piece because it kind of ties the whole book together. It'll take about 10 minutes to read, so you can sit back and relax. It begins with a quote from Marianne Williamson, who of course is a well-known speaker. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. The conclusion is entitled, The Miraculous Power of Senseless Acts of Beauty. Begins with a story. Sherry, a retired elementary school art teacher, told me a story about a drawing assignment she once gave to her students. After handing out paper, pens, and markers, she asked her class to imagine the future and then draw what they thought it would be like. The results were not what she expected. Instead of the youthful, light-hearted, and optimistic visions she thought she might see, most of the drawings comprised scenes of destruction and catastrophe. It's not hard to imagine why these young students shared such a dark vision of the future. Collectively, we are awakening to a multitude of complex and intractable crises. Our media and entertainment reflect our fears and overflow with the end-of-world narratives. For many, the future is a place of uncertainty, anxiety, and even despair. While such feelings are understandable, failing to address them carries a risk. Our imaginations are a powerful force, and what we can imagine can eventually come into being. If we don't start imagining a new future, a future where humans and nature can flourish together, then it may not happen. This is where artists come in. Artists have long given form to the imagination of society, both by expressing the current mood as well as by calling others into newly emerging possibilities. This means that the future you personally envision matters, because the art you create from that vision has the potential to influence and inspire those around you. You are a node in the imagination of society. As such, one of your highest callings is to help society dream into existence a new vision of the world, one that works for all life on earth, one that unflinchingly considers all our current horrors while never taking its eyes off a more life-giving vision of what is possible. We began this book inquiring whether art truly matters, because while many artists wish to make a positive impact, they secretly fear themselves or their art incapable of doing so. What we've discovered along the way is that, in an interconnected world, there is no escape from impact. You don't need to agonize over how to make a difference because you make one every day. The only question is what kind of impact you want to have. A question best answered with an understanding of interbeing. You are neither a separate agent acting upon the world, nor a helpless victim of larger forces. Instead, you are the world, evolving and finding expression through your unique being. From this larger perspective, your art matters when you contribute positively to the world's evolutionary process, enabling life and consciousness to become more complex, whole, and alive. The Soulforce Arts approach was created to help you accomplish just this. It is an evolutionary artistic pedagogy with a truly inclusive outlook. It reveals that none of the usual areas of focus of artistry today, tradition, achievement, self-expression, money, or status, are sufficient by themselves to contribute meaningfully to our world's healing and evolution. Far from implying that we throw these areas of focus away, the Soulforce Arts approach says that each has their place in our artistic lives. Their true value is revealed with an evolutionary perspective. When each of these contributes to your artistic evolution, they function to bring the world more alive through your art. As powerful as it is, the Soulforce Arts approach is not a panacea for the world's problems. Indeed, to rely too heavily on this or any other set of solutions may only serve to disconnect you from the only thing that can reliably guide you through times of uncertainty, your heart's wisdom. Trusting your heart's guidance requires a leap of faith, but what other options are available in a world gone mad, where all our usual institutions and ways of making sense are crumbling before our eyes? The way through our uncertain times is not to look to outward authorities, but to notice what makes your spine tingle, what enchants you, and what resonates with and confirms what your heart secretly knows. These are the breadcrumbs that will lead you and then those around you out of the dark forest. You are as worthy a vehicle for the world's evolution as anyone else, so you can trust that your heart knows the way. No matter how bad things get, never settle for less than what your heart knows to be possible. This is your sacred task as an artist today. In this book, I have argued that art has a function and purpose. However, this is only half the truth. A necessary medicine to address the distorted purposes and nihilism of the lesser gods, of which I talk about in an earlier chapter. The other half is that art has no function or purpose whatever. In this, it is like life. What is the purpose of a tree, a baby, the sky, a mushroom, or the stars. These have no definable function. They exist for their own sake only. The same is true of a fugue, dance, poem, or drawing. To create these furthers no utilitarian function. And so, from the point of view of the lesser gods at least, they are utterly senseless. However, it is art's very senselessness that provides its transformative power. The wounds so many of us carry are the result of imposing the values and imperatives of the lesser gods upon ourselves and the world. So, when we encounter a truly great work of art, its sheer, wanton, profligate, and senseless beauty carries a miraculous power to heal those wounds. Such art says to us, your time of imprisonment and drudgery is over. It's okay. Let go of your agenda, your plan, and control. Unshackle yourself and come play with me in the divine dance of life. Embracing art's senselessness paradoxically reveals a deeper purpose: to re-enchant the world. Great art brings forth the direct realization that yes, the kingdom of heaven truly has been here on earth all the while. To paraphrase Michelangelo, quote, "My soul can find no staircase to heaven unless it be through earth's loveliness." Michelangelo lived in an enchanted world, and the lasting appeal of his many works attests to this fact. His works and those of countless other great artists put the lie to the conceit that the lesser gods, that enchantment is useless frippery. Author J.R.R. Tolkien also knew well the value of enchantment. He said that, quote, "It is as necessary for the health and complete functioning of the human as is sunlight for physical life," end quote. Given that our society's disenchanted worldview is what's responsible for the destruction all around us, re-enchanting the world through our creations is in fact the most sensible thing we can do right now, and our most urgent task. That art's power comes both from its sensibleness and senselessness is not a contradiction. It accords with Niels Bohr's maxim that, quote, "There are trivial truths and there are great truths. The opposite of a trivial truth is plainly false. The opposite of a great truth is also true," end quote. So it is with the function and purpose of the arts. Their senselessness and purposelessness are precisely what give them their enchanting, transformative power. They are a glorious sort of nonsense that function to free us of trivial truths and allow us to experience the great truths revealed by the coincidence of yet other great truths. How do you create such art? By embracing all the seemingly contradictory truths within yourself as you meet your creative challenges. You, as an artist, truly have a vital and potent role to play in re-enchanting the world. This book has provided a solid foundation for embracing this role with an intellectual and spiritual framework, supported by many ideas for practical steps. If you find the number and variety of steps provided overwhelming, don't fret. There's no need to do them all at once or even get to all of them. They're all connected with one another anyway, so just pick the ones that are most fun and which feel like a balm to your soul. These steps are like the front end of your golden thread. Follow them deeply enough, and you're bound to discover your soul force. This leaves us with our final inquiry. Underlying the dark vision for the future so many of us carry is the question, will we make it? The answer is yet another paradox. On the one hand, yes, we will make it. It is utterly certain. In the field of potential that the future represents, the more beautiful, harmonious, and evolved world our heart knows possible is already on its way. It is fully formed, ready and waiting. It knows that we're coming and can't wait to meet us. At the very same time, a more evolved world will only come about with our most dedicated and passionate efforts. To bring it about will require nothing less than everything we have and everything that we are. In this effort, everyone has a part to play, and no act is too small to matter. The great mistake many of us make is to believe that a more evolved world lies sometime in the future. The truth is that it's already here, available every time you pick up your pen, practice your plies, or strum a chord. It's up to you to remember its presence and give it form in your creations. When you do so, your creations will shine forth with Soulforce. You and your art will be a force that evolves the world's consciousness into more holistic values, which brings all more alive through the enchantment of soulfulness. Suffused with your soul force, your art will have a value far beyond its technical virtuosity, conceptual novelty, prettiness, ability to entertain, or price tag. Its true value will instead be as a beacon of compassion and wisdom that allows us, in the words of Ram Dass, to walk each other home. This is the value of Soul Force. Have no doubt that the world needs yours. Thank you. So I'd love to open things up for just a couple minutes. I'd love to hear maybe a word or phrase, something very short, from anybody who'd like to share. Just what's coming up for you, what's resonating. Do it popcorn style if you'd like.
Optimism.
Optimism.
Telling truth, Peter.
Karen Davis says, telling the truth.
Telling the truth.
And Peter Crawley says, a welcome challenge and loving challenge you proposed.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
Bright new possibilities.
Bright new possibilities.
I am so excited about what it is that you're doing and bringing together this inner knowing, this spirituality that the arts can bring to all of us, and putting it up in the forefront, not hiding it anymore.
Yeah.
You go, boy.
Thank you.
I love the invitation to step outside of our
I missed part of that. Step outside of.
comfort zone.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
I love the depth and the way you hold contradictions there, that both can be true, as you said there. And I feel that's something I have to do every day, every way in our current world. So
Absolutely.
bring that, and arts do that. They help us.
Yeah. At their best.
Feel without like having to think about it. It just feels right.
Nice.
I picked up a book called The Poetics of Reverie, or I found it 2 days ago from this guy, Gaston Bachelard, and he was just also encouraging. I don't know if he wrote this in the 30s, reminding everyone that the deep dreaming self, the artist, is so essential. You know, that's what brings the soul into the world. And yes, and beauty, that was the other thing. And the word reverie had to do with not a night dream, but just letting the imagination, letting those feelings of this other world, you know, merging with them and letting them come through. just more of us going into that place of reverie. So, which you certainly are speaking of and doing. So thank you.
Great. Thank you all for sharing. So I'd like to invite now some of people I've worked with and some, I guess, you could call students and others, colleagues and friends, to speak a little bit about their experiences. I'm a big believer in real life stories, and I share a lot of them in my book, and it can really bring this path to life to hear from people who've gone through it a little bit. So I've asked a few of you who are here to share just very briefly, and we'll begin with Lisa.
Well, I'm delighted to be here and share a little of my story, discovering Joseph, which about a little over a year ago, I joined Charles Eisenstein's, what was then called the Sanity Project. And I have a background in modern dance. I was in a modern dance company years ago, and now I've been doing a lot of writing. And so I was finally feeling I never wanted to call myself an artist. I felt insecure about that, but I was finally feeling that way. And then during the pandemic, I found that my views were not mainstream. And I always have felt that part of being an artist was curiosity and questioning the status quo and wrestling with that in my art. And I wasn't finding that any of my artist friends were doing that, at least in this regard. They did in many other beautiful ways. But so I felt incredibly isolated and voiceless. And I joined Charles. I was pretty angry. I joined Charles's group, and I had been wondering, where are the artists? And then when I saw that Joseph was hosting the call, I was thrilled. So I went, and it was a wonderland of, Alexander technique lessons to help me calm down. I was somewhat familiar with that. And then for me, the most profound thing that you did, Joseph, was host a series of discussions. They lasted maybe 8 weeks, every other week, about really everything you've been talking about so far in the call, the purpose of arts in our current society that values money and consumption and is embedded in the story of separation. And there were so many people participating, and Joseph made the space for that. So I just want to honor that, and that too, the artist in you also values community and created that space where we can come together. And it was very meaningful and is for me at a really difficult time. And I was aware how much I needed community as an artist, because particularly as a writer, dancing was always a group experience, but writing is pretty solitary. So I just want to thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, where are the artists? Where are my people? That's a big question for all of us. Great, thank you. All right, Raquel.
Hello. So I also came across Joseph's work on the same platform that Lisa mentioned. When I came across it, I just read the description of the classes Joseph was giving, and it resonated too much. It's like, how are you someone who plays instruments and has been stuck in pain, patterns of pain, chronic pain, inability to get past certain blocks because of tension in the body, creating psychological tension. And it seemed like someone had written a description that was pretty much exactly what I had been going through. I've played instruments my whole life, piano and guitar. Most of my 20s I spent in debilitating chronic pain. And by the time I had found Joseph's work, I had improved that a lot through body awareness and strength training. But it never occurred to me that that could also be applied to playing instruments and to music. And then the whole idea of how that relates to the ability to express Soulforce or the ability to channel, in particular through music, was a really eye-opening revelation that contextualized music in a totally different way in my life. And so when I started, it felt really weird to call myself a musician. It still kind of does, but it's certainly a lot more comfortable. Currently recording an album. I don't think that would have been possible without Joseph's eye-opening work, and I'm really grateful for that. There's still a lot to work on, but I feel like I'm much more reconnected to this artistic passion in my life, and a lot of that has been not just through the physical aspect, but the tying of that physical aspect to a deeper life force, I think is really key to mention. So thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, Raquel. Yeah, tying that physical aspect to a deeper life force. That's right on. Yeah, whole life, whole self, whole art. Great, Angeline.
Hello, my name is Angeline, and similar to Lisa and Raquel, I also met Joseph through NAS. It was referred to as NAS when I joined. I guess now it goes by Sanity Project. That's like the predecessor to Sanity Project, was the new and ancient story community, also started by Charles Eisenstein. And I actually connected more with Joseph after meeting him at the in-person gathering, which was really beautiful because it was really, I've just really felt moved by his music first and foremost. And that just really spoke to my soul. And then it felt like things that come, you're getting the info straight from the horse's mouth, as they say. It's not, I could feel that spirit in his music. And just being able to be held in the space as a creative more from the values that I resonate with at that time, still now, but especially then. Like, I was very new on my creative path with multiple outlets and still like trying to find out and figure out what my path and structure is with that, and not really resonating with the traditional societal structures around, yeah, like perfectionism or consumerism or entertainment. It felt like there was something else that was calling me forward, and I didn't quite, I could feel it and know it, and I couldn't always name it. So it was just very helpful to be on call with Joseph in a group container, on a one-on-one container, and just kind of like feel that evoked, like what's true for me, be kind of pulled out and brought into clarity so I could see it for myself and feel that empowerment of what it is, and follow it for myself. And I was very fortunate to be able to offer a commission that really empowered me and really brought a lot more confidence and of what my vision is and like what I'm even capable of. And just to have to be able to be in that field of creatives working together and envisioning a more beautiful world, and to be in that sense of collaboration and mutual honoring was so nourishing. So thank you, Joseph, for inviting me here to speak, and I'm really excited for your book.
Thank you. Yeah, and Angeline, the commission she was talking about, this really beautiful painting. I have it on my wall. Yeah, I'm so happy to have it. So great. We have one more, Robert.
I consider myself to be the baby of the group. Maybe not in age, but in how long I've known Joseph and how long I've been able to successfully apply the Alexander technique in a way that is freeing instead of stifling. I came across Joseph in March of this year, so very recently. And I'm also a professional librarian, so I did my most complex Boolean search possible in the tri-state area to try and find a musician that could address the needs that I was facing. Mainly, I'm a professional choral director and a pianist at the largest Episcopal church in the Diocese of Maryland. I'm not a religious person anymore because I kind of grew up in one of the crazy cults that's doesn't have a great reputation right now. Um, but the Episcopal Church allows me to do music and art in a way that allows me to be myself. And so it puts food on the table. It is an artistic way to express myself. But I also graduated from Peabody Conservatory about 30 years ago, and what was taught to me in the conservatory was great, except it's that same perfectionism again, where your body is treated as a tool rather than, as I learned after many, many years being an expert pianist, something to be honored in the art. I've sustained some pretty heavy injuries over the last 2 decades, and that pain affects my performance a lot from some major accidents that I went through. And actually, right now, because of the situation that happened at the library in the past week, I've entered into another very acute stage of severe pain. The difference this time is that in addition to my physical therapy exercises, I have spent 8 weeks studying with Joseph the new and improved Alexander technique. And so, Joseph, I was going to begin with just physical therapy movements, but I started with do no harm immediately. And the shift for me in my life after studying with Joseph and this idea of Soulforce was two things. The magic pause has saved my artistic life because right now every movement can cause me pain in my right arm. And so before I make it, I stop and ask myself, what would my teacher tell me to do? Pause. And so I pause and I'm successful today about 50% of the time, which is going to get me to another remission in my arm pain. It's going to get me there in the next 4 to 8 weeks. The other thing is the spatial awareness that we spoke about in our lessons for someone who had been taught at Peabody to be perfectionist and make sure every note is perfect. We spoke about feeling the piano keys and the air between myself and the keys and sensing the breathing of people in the room. And like a shaman, instead of trying to control the music, following where the breathing went and letting the music tell me what it's supposed to be. So through my lessons with Joseph and many of the calls we've gone on with other students, I have learned to unlearn some ingrained habits from being taught in the American conservatory system, as well as overcome pain and movement obstacles, and also to find some magic in my performances that I didn't know was still possible after being a pianist for the last 45 years. So I'm really grateful to be here. I feel mainly, if Joseph asked us to talk about the shift. For me, there's lots of shifts, but the biggest one probably after spending time on calls with Joseph and other students here is I spent most of my life as an artist feeling like I was the only one thinking this. And for once, I now feel seen by other artists, that what we do matters and that what we do can change molecules. Whether it's valued by society yet or used to be is not that important. We have a member in our attendance tonight who has given voice to many of what we all feel. And I feel seen. So thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing that, Robert. And I misspoke earlier. We have one more, Megan.
I feel like it's so appropriate that I'm following Robert because yeah, what I wanted to say was I've been in Joseph's Soulforce online community that he started some time ago, not too long ago. My concept of time is all wiggly. But being in a group cohort with other artists has just been so valuable, and the way that Joseph facilitates it has been so valuable. Often I witness my own struggles and experiences and feelings, even though our art is all different, in the stories that the other artists have shared, and learn so much from what they've learned and what they're talking about. And so that's just been invaluable to be in community. And so Joseph, thank you for facilitating that, and the way that you direct us a little bit is like really meaningful and productive. And I think that something that I really appreciate about working with Joseph is that his approach and perspective are really encouraging and empowering, but not in the like, oh, everything's all good, we only focus on that way. That happens a lot. His insights are truly holistic, fully acknowledging and interpreting the reality of the state of the world around us, and considering the physical body, mind, spirit, place in community, everything. And I really appreciate that. A truly holistic and thoughtful perspective. And I think that his confidence in the true importance of art and artists in the world, and clear vision of how we can best make a difference and live well, even in these crazy times, inspires me to believe more in myself and what I actually love doing. I am a casual creative person. I make lots of art of different kinds, and it's always been just what I do for fun. And through working with him, I've come to consider it as more than just my fun hobby. Like, maybe it is actually meaningful. I can make a difference in the world. And then also, I just wanted to share about a recent lesson that I had with him, where we were exploring. I draw and have been having wrist pain from the repetitive movement, and just his guidance about how to find flow and presence and joy in the process of making every mark has made me slow down a lot, but I'm already experiencing expanded awareness and reduction in pain, which is really awesome. So yes, that's all. Thank you. End of share.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, great. Well, we're coming in on the top of the hour here, so I'd like to do the prizes section of the of the evening. So I mentioned, I think before we got the recording going, that anybody who gets a copy of the book who buys a copy, let's say in the next 24 hours, I will send another copy to a friend of yours for free. So you can just let me know, that you got the book, send me the receipt and the address of the person in your life, and I will send them a copy of the book, signed. If you get it on Amazon, if you could leave a rating and review, that'd be really helpful for me. So what we're going to do is a raffle. So 2 lucky people are going to get a signed copy of the book, and 2 lucky people are going to get a free session with me. And yes, I will share the link for the Amazon thingy again. Well, you can get it at independent bookstores online as well. All right, so your job, if you want, is to guess numbers from 1 to 100. And we're just going to do this all in one go. And I have 4 numbers written out already, 2 for the books, 2 for the sessions, the free hour-long sessions. And whoever gets closest, well, I guess we'll do two different drawings. So if you want the books, we'll do the books first. Whoever gets closest to those numbers will get the books. And the same thing for the sessions. All right, so if you're interested in the books, put in your number between 1 and 100 into the chat. Is that everybody? Yes, okay. So let's see. Looks like Angeline got one of them. And
What was the number?
oh, the number is 33. Sorry, I'm not just making this up. Or am I? The other number was 2. So I think that's Peter. So we'll be in touch, and I'll send you a book. Okay, and then for the hour-long sessions with me, we'll have 2 more numbers. So go ahead, and if you want that, it could also be for a friend of yours. If you don't want it necessarily for yourself, you can give it to a friend. So again, same thing, 1 to 100. Okay, let me see. Okay, good. So the numbers were 56 and 87. Okay, 56. That might be Robert with 67. No, wait, 9. No, I think it's maybe Patty. Yeah, I think it's Patty with 47. And then the second number is 87. So who's closest to that? Might be Raquel is 8. 87. Yes, I think it's Raquel. All right. Very good. So we'll be in touch. Okay. So just final, very brief things. I want to let you know that I'm starting a 12-week program this fall, late September. It's called the Soulforce Activation. 12 weeks to harness your inner creative power, create more freely, discover your artistic purpose, and touch lives with your art. It's basically my book in course form, and it's for artists of all kinds of backgrounds who struggle with certain kind of challenges like creative blocks and performance anxiety, self-doubt, physical injuries, tension, the fear that your art doesn't matter. So again, the idea is that all these things are connected by a single root cause, disconnection from your soul force. So if you know anybody who might be into that, who might be struggling with those challenges and somebody who's tender-hearted artist who's interested in some new ideas, please send them my way. I have a web page up on my website for that. And finally, I just want to take a moment of appreciation. A friend asked me recently, have you really taken this in, this accomplishment? And I have a little bit, but I wanted to take a moment right now just to appreciate that you all are here. Hold this heft. It's a gigantic book, 450 pages in my hands. Just take it in. Okay, thank you all for being here. Maybe we can have a final, everybody say goodbye at once, although it's not goodbye, because if you want to stick around for the after party, please do. I'm going to stay on the call. I'd love to hear more about what's going on for you. So thank you all for being here. Really, really appreciate it.
Fare thee well. We'll talk soon.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Thank
Joseph.
you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Adios,
Thank
amigo.
You're brilliant.
Bye.
So could you put your website in the chat?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Soulforcearts.com.